interaction. Really some good. This is great TV. It's just too bad we're the only ones that can see it.
So what had happened was, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here live to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time.
Let's go through it all again, okay? Let's do it again for the audience this time.
Yeah, zip, 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 boom, boom.
Welcome. What had happened was, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Super Show. We're on Fight TV, FITE Fight. What had happened was,
that stupid
Dave,
fly.
of course,
that fly was in here, and it just like I like hit my monitor and knocked off a button.
What'd you hit the monitor with?
Well, it depends on what's close by.
we are now live. Dave and the Fly. You know, we never. The production team never. You didn't say roll it. You're supposed to say roll it when we go live. You didn't do it. It didn't happen. We weren't live. We talked a lot. We talked about how great this jacket is. We talked about the fact
we did, and all of that about the jacket was wasted because nobody heard it. That's a true shame.
It is literally gone forever, ever.
Saddens me. You know.
Well,
and speaking of the Fly, I mean that movie with Vincent Price was amazing, just amazing.
It was beautiful. Yeah,
tremendous.
Wait, Vincent Price was in The Fly?
The first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Whoa, beep, beep, beep. There was a Fly before the Jeff Goldblum Fly. I can't. There's a lot of B's and F's in there.
Wow, and you, a professional commentator. God bless you. You're an inspiration for all of those that think they can. I'm telling you.
This jacket has attracted a lot of heat today, and I've been retaining it. And I want
because you're wearing it.
I want to now formally introduce us again, since we didn't do that when we started. We are the Pro Wrestling Report. This is Primetime. We are live on Fight TV, FITE Fight. It's Thursday, October 8th. 2020. We are normally joined here on Thursday nights by one Shane Helms, but we have sitting in for him tonight a tremendously suitable replacement, the always tremendous
Shane Helms stand-in,
Al Snow.
Yeah.
Hello,
and
Al.
People have actually thought that I was Shane Helms' father. You can see the resemblance.
I thought you were Luke's father.
Luke, yeah. There's probably a Luke or two out there, too.
We're also joined, ladies and gentlemen, by the co-host with the leastest. That is one David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore, fly on the head, don't even notice it, hero.
Well, no, I noticed it. That's why I want to get rid of it. I wish I had a fly swatter around here. The damn thing's annoying.
So, we go on the rails, off the rails. We are live on Fight TV. We're live across our social media networks as well. We've got people joining us. We've got people. We are live now. Yes, we are confirmed to be live now. In fact, I can confirm that by joining or welcoming several people joining us across our socials, including James Wayo. Baby. And Batman Beyond 23 on YouTube. And Al, you're a big Batman fan.
Huge fan. Batman being the only real superhero there is.
Without powers. Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes him a real hero, as opposed to he has extra abilities that now prevent him from having to risk his actual life.
Right, but having powers makes you super. That's the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, in case you hadn't noticed, apparently a chord has been stricken here as the battle between Batman with the super belt and the leader of the Mighty Mouse Club, who loves Superman. Yeah. I detect some dissension here. What the hell? What's going on?
This is a weekly thing. So
and it's no Captain America, which I still don't get, David. So.
I don't understand where all
here we go.
Confusion lies, because there is only one greatest superhero in the history of superheroes. There is only one great American patriot who we actually need right now to help save us, and that is of Captain America. How do you hate on this? What don't you get?
I don't hate. I think Captain America is great, but let's face it, you're now idolizing a steroid abuser. That was basically the gimmick back in where he was shot full of drugs and made into a super soldier.
So it was an experimental drug. And
which was
many people
because when he came out, he was all.
He came out.
he came out of the cat, the experimental chamber that they had all the needles that
he might eventually. Him and Bucky were pretty close. I have no idea.
That's his brother, dude. What are you insinuating?
Lots of things.
They're not blood relatives.
Yeah, exactly.
They're really, really good friends.
Very close.
This show's about wrestling.
They are
Professional.
so close that Bucky even got a metal arm.
This
He's
show's
not
about
heavy.
He's
my brother.
I knew, and let me change the camera shot here so that the focus can be in the right place. I knew, I feared, I thought, I was concerned that once the bosom buddies here, Dave and Al, got on the show, that Cousin Balky and Cousin Larry Appleton would definitely dominate.
I would say more like Laverne and Shirley, since
So
Schmazel, Hops and Pepper Incorporated.
Last week I was forced on this show to change my tag here.
Yeah.
From my real name to my shoot name, or to my working name, which is at Chris Wallace. Already, I feel like that may need to be the case again.
I think you're handling this much more than Chris Wallace did. You're not so biased.
He did a great what? Alrighty. Okay. So, yeah, about that. Let's move on, and we do want to talk a lot about wrestling, and we do want to talk about all the goings on this past week in professional wrestling. A lot did happen, guys, but it's also a substantial week in the business because we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of AEW on TNT. We're also celebrating the 1-year anniversary of WWE on Fox. Both shows have some special programming. Granted, it's actually over the next 2 weeks, but it is close enough in time where we can compile it all into one discussion on this show. But before I do that, I do want to go backwards to last Sunday at NXT TakeOver from the Capitol Wrestling Center, the newly branded Capitol Wrestling Center. And last week on this broadcast, we did a little thing called Be the Booker, where we once actually did Batman versus Superman, Al, and Dave didn't call you when we did that. He did it by himself.
Should have.
Of course, put Superman over the whole time. But
should have.
But we want to talk about TakeOver and the main event TakeOver.
Can I say something really quickly? I don't know if you guys know Okay. I don't know if you guys realize the significance of it being called the Capitol Event Center, because Vince's father, when they first started professional wrestling, WWF, it was called Capitol Wrestling, and it was out of Washington, D.C.
Al, it's interesting. When that first came out, I said, ooh, gosh, blessed, that's a horrible logo. And what is this? And then I said, oh, yeah, nope, that actually is pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's a callback. It's a callback to history,
Yeah.
So, and the inception of what became WWF, that then became WWF, that then became WWE.
The Worldwide Wrestling Federation. David Hero, You said that at TakeOver, both you and Shane agreed that it would be Finn Balor who would retain the championship and win the match against Kyle O'Reilly. But did you think, Dave, that it would be as physical as it was and would result in a broken jaw in 2 places for Finn Balor?
Well, absolutely, because both guys are very physical, hard-hitting guys. And, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that Finn Balor broke his jaw. Whenever he defends his title, he gets hurt. So once again, Finn Balor, injury-prone, snake bit, whatever you want to call it.
Al, I'll catch you
in a main event.
I'll catch you up on the history of this in case you don't know. And I know you know Dave very, very well. But Dave doesn't like wrestlers who are small in his definition of the term small, which I still don't know what it formally is.
I never once brought the fact
and
that he's under 200 pounds.
He has hated you have several times. You talked about them announcing.
But not today.
So he has several times. Taken advantage of the opportunity to crap on Finn Balor every chance he gets because Finn Balor is quote unquote small. He doesn't recognize his talents. He doesn't recognize his abilities. He recognizes him as simply a small person and will not give him the credit he is due for being one of the most physical, one of the most tremendous, one of the most amazing wrestling performers in that ring every time he performs. You hate, do you, Dave?
No, I don't hate, but how well does it pay off for him to be so physical? He gets hurt all the time.
Isn't that what happens when you have such physical matches?
No, not really. I mean, Al wasn't hurt all the time. No, as long as no, not at all.
There is a being physical or working tight, wrestling tight, and being safe at the same time. That can be done, and then that, there were wrestlers that have over the decades have operated like that. Johnny Valentine would be one of the more famous ones.
So, Al, let me do placement here, if you will. No, let me do placement here. Let me do placement here, if you will.
Okay, sure.
You are on this show to address the conspiracy theories that have been levied upon our audience by Dave and Shane for the last several weeks, if not months.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I appreciate your fair and balanced approach and your unbiased approach to explaining the why, the how, if you will. So you just said that not necessarily are injuries going to be a result of such physical matchups. But if you're to believe that these contests are indeed that physical and that snug, if you will, then shouldn't injuries come from them?
Not necessarily, no. Because once a wrestler is injured, that is the worst thing that can happen for a professional wrestler. They're always going to be hurt. There is a major difference between the two. Hurt means that you can still perform and you can still be a factor in how many people showed up in that building or attended that show or watched it on pay-per-view, which is the sole purpose of why you're there. And if you're injured, well, then now you don't serve that purpose anymore. And your income and your potential opportunities get curtailed. And also the very likely possibility that another wrestler can get hot and take your spot, take your place, take that opportunity that you were presented, and now you lose it. And so the last thing you ever want to do is put yourself in a position to where you increase the odds of potentially getting injured. Can you get hurt? Absolutely. And you're going to get hurt every night to some degree. But being injured is where you can't work. You can't perform. You can't wrestle. And you can't give an audience what you've sold them. And an audience, as we well know, are very fickle. The general audience is very fickle. And it doesn't take them long to forget about you.
See, Damien, if you were paying attention, last week, Cody Rhodes, when he name-dropped Al, said exactly that. He said, we're always going to be hurt, but we don't want to be injured. And that's exactly what's happening with Finn Balor. That's what happened with Kyle O'Reilly. Now it happened with Karrion Kross. All their top guys are just getting hurt. And that does not help the young brand trying to be competitive with AEW.
I'm sorry. Who did you mention?
Oh, my goodness.
Did you mention you endorsed Cody Rhodes?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Not Stardust. Did you mention him mentioning the man who trained him, who made him as great as he is last week on Dynamite? The man on this show right now, one Al Snow. Did you mention that?
Do you have restraints with that thing or no? Just curious.
Al, I do want to ask you a very serious question.
Sure.
And that question is...
Are you going to keep that mask on when you do it? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If I can be serious for a moment.
Absolutely.
So, as Dave pointed out last week on Dynamite, returning Cody Rhodes gave you props, gave you an on-air mention, talked about how you trained him. You made him the star that he is, at least in his technical and capabilities in wrestling. Actually, I got to go back a little bit to an OVW show where I discovered Cody Rhodes. What is the underlying joke here?
You discovering Cody. That's what's underlying.
Here's what it was. It was at the show at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. When I went down specifically. I was going to the park and I was going to the show happened to be that weekend. It was great. I had heard about this within the company for a while and wanted to see what it was all about. It was tremendous. And that was one where John Cena appeared, came in on a tank, And I remember seeing Cody wrestle, and I'm like, who's this Cody dude? He's pretty fantastic. He's got a great look. And then say, wait a minute, that's Dusty's kid? How?
And he always, and Cody always, even from the start, even when he came in and he was, we were literally starting from the ground up. You could always tell that Cody had a star quality about him, the way he carried himself. He just had that it thing. And still, obviously, his confidence and his experience, watching him after the dog collar match this past week. Well, that would have been just last night. Not real good with time. With on AEW.
Okay.
Yeah, but just last night, watching him, do the promo afterwards. I mean, there aren't many that are as capable on the microphone like he is to this day, and and invoking that kind of an emotional connection. And I couldn't be prouder of him. And I never expect any of my kids to point anything out or say anything about what's happened in the past. But I was so flattered when he did mention me. I mean, it was nice. It was very nice, and I can't thank him enough, for tipping the hat to me.
To that point, Al, and of course, not since that moment in OVW, not since that moment in Louisville, but thereafter in WWE, I endorsed Cody Rhodes and saw what you saw in Cody Rhodes, which was a tremendous amount of star power, a future star, if not the lead star of a future wrestling organization. Now, I can't say I saw that, but what I can say is that smirk on David Hero's face needs me to explain why he's smirking. He has hated. Heard everybody I've endorsed because I've always been right. I endorsed him. He went on to be champion. I endorsed Cody Rhodes. He went on to lead AEW. Every endorsement I've had has been right, and he has been wrong by following the big guys, if you will, because the small guys can never make it in this company. So, David, Al taught Cody.
Yes, but here's the smirk.
Credit for what Cody has done. Cody gave Al props last week on Dynamite, and you sit back and you laugh, you ridicule, and you make fun of. Explain yourself.
I gotta say too, like, Cody is not a small guy. Cody's like 6'3", and The Miz, another one of my kids, he's like 6'3" or 6'4". They're deceptively big. Don't be fooled. And then I know.
Go ahead, Dave. Explain yourself.
The smirk was this. You are the Bucky to Cody's Captain America. That's all that it is.
You see what he's doing, Al?
But hold on a second. You know what? Watching that dog collar match last night, Cody took his time during that match. He didn't rush anything. Everything he did, it was emphasized. It looked like he was legit fighting, thinking about what he was going to do, not thinking about what his next move was going to be. And he made everything register with the audience, even though there wasn't one but the at-home audience. He's one of the very few guys that does not go 100 miles an hour right now, and it showed in the quality of that match. How about that?
No. That's one match 1 week. No, that's one match 1 week. You have 4 years on the show, and
I'm just living for today right now. Okay?
I'm not going to repeat the blasphemy. I'm not going to repeat the blasphemy that you exuded on one of our ESPN radio shows several years back.
At one time when Cody was getting his ass handed to him by DX, yes, I said Cody Rhodes sucks. Why? Because he was losing every week to either a pedigree or a super kick.
But Al, can you help explain to Dave why Cody getting his quote-unquote ass kicked every week by DX helped him become the star he is today?
Well, it actually, it doesn't hurt you at all to get beat every week by the top stars in the company. To get super kicked by Shawn Michaels, if you can't get beat by Shawn Michaels, who historically was always at the top of the card, or by Triple H, then who can beat you? Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're going to have to pull out some kryptonite for, Dave's favorite superhero, Superman, since that's the only thing that can ever actually make him feel like he's in jeopardy of losing his life, which doesn't put him at risk. It doesn't make him a hero if he flies into a burning building because he's invulnerable and he saves your life. Well, big deal. He didn't risk anything.
No, he did. He risked wasting his time. He could have ignored everybody, right? Just gone home.
Well, that is true. Yeah, thank God. You're not from the planet Krypton. We'd all be dead.
So what I do want to ask, and good job skirting and avoiding the issue there, David Hero. And
he bobbed and weaved on you on that one. He bobbed.
What I do want to ask, though, Al, is obviously, your lineage and your time in professional wrestling goes back so far, so long, and the influence you've had over such tremendous stars who we are admiring today is not as known as much as I think it should be. So to give you credit for that, I also want to get your opinion on where we are currently in professional wrestling. We talked about NXT TakeOver from last Sunday at the Capitol Wrestling Center, and thank you for that explanation of the name. But what I want to talk about is wrestling in general. Obviously, we're in a pandemic. Obviously, your tribulations, if you will, with with OVW have been substantial because of the pandemic. So we said when this whole thing started that there was only so much grief you can give any national wrestling company at this time because everyone's having to react and pivot from what their original plans were. We saw WrestleMania take place in a warehouse. We saw weeks, months of shows without fans. Now we have virtual fans on one show, live shows on the other, and a smattering of fans on NXT. It's all been difficult, and every company deserves a ton of praise for all that they have done to continue to bring us wrestling action.
Yeah, I agree.
But minus the pandemic, 1 year ago, as I said earlier on this program, 1 year ago these weeks, AEW debuted on TNT, and SmackDown moved to Fox for $1 billion deal between them and WWE. I want to first, since we've been talking about Cody, get your opinion, Al, on the success of AEW. And I will preface that with this and say that I was living overseas at the time when AEW launched. They were coming off the heels of a successful pay-per-view event. There was momentum from the core fans, if you will, the vocal internet fans, if you will, which is a much larger audience now than I think most of us realized. And I wasn't convinced it was going to work. I didn't think they could go against the machine. I've been proven completely wrong on that, and I'm happy to have been proven completely wrong on that because it is now the single national wrestling broadcast that I look forward to each and every week and that I will find time to watch. Now, that's my opinion, and that's my preface. But I want to hear from you, Al, because we've not gone in depth with you on this program about AEW, about what you think their strengths are, their weaknesses are, and the fact that they've endured for 1 year and signed another TV show in the process and got an extension of that 1 year on TNT.
Well, I have to say that first and foremost, I'm thrilled that they're being successful. It only benefits the fans. It only benefits the wrestling business that more and more companies are able to propagate the landscape and not only survive but thrive. That just helps professional wrestling as a whole. It gives professional wrestlers a place to ply their trade. It gives the fans options and different avenues and different directions and different styles of professional wrestling that they might enjoy. And then and they may go for AEW for a couple weeks or months, and then decide that they want to switch back over to WWE, or maybe they want to try Impact for a while because it's going to be different. And that was it's very reminiscent to a degree of the old regional territorial days, because each one of those territories had a different feel, a different vibe, a different look, a different direction, a different style from territory to territory based on the vision and the of the booker. And I think it's great. And I think that the people with AEW, the behind the scenes people, should be commended and applauded. To have lasted a year, but not just any year, but a year where probably 6 months of it, 6 or 7 months of it have been where they were completely shut down, to where they couldn't operate in front of a live audience. And it required a tremendous amount of creativity to still be able to put on a product that motivates an audience at home to continue to watch it without that natural interaction of a live audience being there. It's very, very difficult. Even if you have, a small amount of people in the building, it doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't have the same feedback that it typically would if there was the regular audience that would be there, and the interaction and the reaction taking place that helps to make the show what the show really is. That's the magic of professional wrestling. And to then also, and on top of that, to overcome the hurdle, because let's face it, the wrestling business is the wrestler's business, and that's because they're the product. You know, they are the thing that is driving the bus. And you know, for AEW to come on and come out and basically have a roster full of guys who were completely inexperienced, that as far as in regards to even just performing on TV, let alone as a live TV, which is a completely different animal. It's a completely different beast. You know, again, is a testament to a lot of the backstage people that were able to lead and direct and allow these younger talent to, you know, benefit to some degree from their experience. And I hope that, you know, that's a testament again to the people back behind the scenes. And I hope that, you know, AEW just continues to grow and expand and, you know, develop, and not because, you know, I have a predisposition because of Cody, which I of course do, but because of the fact that it, like I said, it's the thing that's best for professional wrestling, you know, is to have as many different companies as possible out there operating. There's no reason that we all can't have a piece of the pie, just different levels with different percentages, you know. And back like in the old days, you know, when it was not surprising that, you know, a certain territory like Memphis would be hot and really drawing great houses, where what used to be really hot out in Missouri and Kansas has started to cool off. And, you know, and now because of the advent of cable television and streaming and every other form that you can watch it, you know, you can easily just, hey, you know, I was watching Kansas and Missouri and now it's kind of getting boring and dull. It's the same guys. And you can tune right in and, you know, go watch AEW. You can watch Impact. You can watch Ring of Honor. You can watch New Japan. You can watch OVW, which is on about 7 to 8 different national networks, YTA being one of them, and Sports 11 USA. We're in about 100 million homes just between those two networks alone. So, and if you're around the world, we have our own Roku channel, Amazon Fire, Amazon Prime, and we're on Sports International, the European Sports Channel, which we're going to start broadcasting likely next week live, thanks to our partners, Film Vault.
And you have a new OVW National Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, we do have a new OVW National Heavyweight Champion, and that is Jesse Goddard of Big Brother fame. He's an awesome athlete, was with Impact Wrestling for several years, and he's doing a tremendous job, doing great.
That's OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, of which you are the head, Al Snow. And thank you very much for that detailed analysis on AEW and their last 12 months, if you will. I'll throw it now to David Hero for a similar perspective. Well, maybe not a similar perspective, but a similar question of AEW's been around now for over a year. We just heard what Al had to say. I'd love to hear your thoughts, David Hero, on AEW. And specifically, I'd like to ask you a different question, are we still in the honeymoon period, or have they established themselves as the number 2 brand, I guess you can call it?
Well, I don't know if it's a number 2 brand if you're going by shows, but as far as companies, absolutely number 2. They've maintained. I mean, their ratings, yeah, they came out with 1 million to begin with, but they've been consistently around that 8 to 850 number just about every week. I think they realized what talents were TV ready and which ones were not. And those are the ones that obviously we don't see nearly as much as we did early on. But I mean, they've actually been doing things. They've been ahead of the curve over WWE, which is almost unheard of. When the whole COVID cock block quarantine thing happened and whatever, and WWE
I'm sorry. Is cock block a technical term for quarantine?
It is, absolutely, because it's been, yeah, of course.
I'm sure I heard Dr. Fauci use that.
Well, that's where I got it from.
Dave, just so you know, Dr. Fauci is one of the members of the coronavirus task force representing the current administration.
Hey, I
I
follow
don't know
him
if
on
you looked at him or
Instagram.
found him to be factual or not.
I follow him on Instagram, of course. I know who that is. So,
he's got some great selfies.
Oh, yeah. But when WWE, their hard cam, it was showing an empty side of the building. AEW switched their hard cam to showing the ramp. And it was a huge difference that eventually a month or 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, WWE then copied that. I mean, AEW has done some really good things, and I'm surprised how well they've been able to sustain going 1 year. Like Al said, from March on, it's been a nightmare for anyone trying to do any live events, and they've held their own extremely well.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for both of your thoughts on that. I would say this, again, as I said before, I was not a believer, if you will, initially in it. That's not reflective on any individual. It's just we've seen a lot of people try and a lot of people not have the necessary resources and the backing. And this is not just financial. Al, you make a tremendous point. It's the people backstage. It's the back of house. It's the machine, if you will. And Dave, you and I were at Revolution in Chicago back in February, right before what did you call it? A chicken block?
Yeah, it's the COVID rooster brick.
Okay, before that hit, and one of the things that struck me so much was how professional and how involved and how detailed the backstage was for that event. We've been backstage. Al, you've worked for WWE and several wrestling companies. You run one right now. You know what it takes. And that is where a lot of companies fail. In this instance, AEW has the infrastructure in place to be successful going forward. And that has definitely helped them in that regard.
Well, they clearly do have the right people in the right places, and the willingness, because I can tell you right now, they have the financial resources is one thing, but then having the resources of having experience, and they've only just now started to assemble that with the likes of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard and, Dean Malenko and Billy Gunn and Jake Roberts. Yeah, I mean, that's invaluable. Taz, yeah, JR, Jim Ross, that's invaluable. I've said this plenty of times, you can have access to information, which everyone does these days, but that doesn't give you real knowledge. That gives you information, but it does not give you real knowledge. In order to have real knowledge, you must have a commensurate amount of experience, and then that gives you the knowledge, the understanding of what that information is and how to properly use it.
Commensurate.
Yeah.
I got to look that up.
Well, you should Google it. That shows how you have access to information.
Well,
you might want to Google Rooster Brick too.
Damien, it's right under cock block in the dictionary. It's easy to find.
It's near there. Yeah, it's close in the alphabet.
Is that like something you wear? A cock block?
You can.
It's
like a protective cup in baseball.
So we're going to take a time out and talk more about our tremendous partner in Fight TV. One of us has an echo, so I'm going to give you guys the opportunity while we're in this timeout to figure out what's happening.
Wait. I don't think it's me.
That guy over there.
Well, usually it's Dave who's shenanigizing with the truck, but we'll see what's going on. Try to fix it.
I killed the fly. The fly's done.
We're going to take a brief timeout and tell you more about Fight TV and AEW Plus. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime live here on Fight TV.
The wait is over. All Elite Wrestling is now available on AEW Plus.
What are we seeing?
This is your chance to watch AEW Dynamite, commercial-free and live every Wednesday night.
Let's do this!
Exclusively on the Fight Digital Sports Television platform. AEW Plus is available in over 100 countries outside the U.S., Canada, Germany, and France. AEW Plus can be viewed on your smart TV, mobile device, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, or at Fight.tv.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Starting this month, AEW Plus will also feature every episode of AEW Dark. Download the Fight app now and join the revolution today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Primetime, it's the Super Show here live Thursday, October 8th, 10/8/20. Damian Nelson joined by David Hero and sitting in for Shane Hurricane Helms, our normal superstar, Al Snow, the superstar this week, and already schooling us, taking us to school, and telling us how the world works, at least as it pertains to professional wrestling, because that's all that can be explained right now. But I do want to welcome those of you who are watching us socially on Fight TV and across the world. Charles Alford on Facebook, George White on Facebook, Showtime 209 on Twitter, Andy D on YouTube, and also many more of you, including Gabe 606 on YouTube, Showtime 209 on YouTube, and Billy Flores as well. Keep those comments coming in. We'll share them as you share them here live on the show as well. We do want to apologize for the echo that you're experiencing. We're going to blame that on the production supervisor. I believe her name is Miss Betty. She was recently promoted, and she has not been living up to expectations. And
we've got to do something about Miss Betty. I know she makes great cookies, but I've not had it with her.
That's about it. Whoops, hi Spot. You hear that?
Are her cookies blocked too? That was Miss Betty actually calling in. She's not pleased.
I'll fight Miss Betty.
She's not pleased with what you guys have said so far. You know, you talked about ratings, Dave Hero, and I want to give the fans around the world an update on what the shows on Wednesday night did deliver this past week. Both shows down about 100,000 viewers. AEW actually down a bit more than NXT, but still in the lead for the win. Number of viewers wise was AEW, 753,000 people tuning in to NXT's 639,000 people. Al, I want to.
But that's easy to explain.
How do you explain that?
Well, people are going to be exercising their 25th Amendment pretty soon. So I think that they wanted to get information last night about that.
Are they?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, why did it take this long? That would be the greatest gift that this country had ever been bestowed upon since the
come on, just
Statue of
play out
Liberty.
a few more weeks. What's wrong with you? He just got over a tremendous sickness in 4 days.
I'm not taking I'm not taking your bait. I'm not taking his race bait. I'm not taking any bait. I am going to move on and say that damn you, Dave. You threw me off. I was going to go on to Al, the expert, the man who knows. I was going to go to Al and ask definitively, can you answer? Because a lot of fans are mesmerized by it. A lot of people talk about it. We just talked about it on the show. But can you explain, because you talked about how OVW is in over 100 million homes, expanding even more and more. Ratings, viewership, engagement. How do those things matter to the owner of a wrestling company that is being broadcast on television, digitally, wherever it may be all over the world? Do the ratings matter in the case of OVW, in the case of the Wednesday Night Wars, and in the case of Raw and SmackDown?
Absolutely. The ratings do. They are invaluable. The reason that the ratings are so important is that they are an indicator of how well you, and more importantly, how well the wrestlers are doing their real job. And let's face it, it is the hardest job out there. There is not a harder job that exists, and it's getting exponentially, increasingly more difficult as every day goes by. That job is to garner the most valuable commodity that exists in the world today, and that commodity is your attention. Everyone is vying for your attention to some degree. In some way, they want your attention, and then they want to keep your attention, and to be able to get it and then keep it takes an incredible amount of skill and timing and effort to do so, and not just anyone can, and that's why those ratings are so valuable, because they are a litmus test, a indicator of just how well you're able to capture that and then keep it and maintain it, and then hopefully build on it and to garner even more of an audience's attention so that you can sell your product on a bigger and bigger platform, the product being the wrestlers themselves. But understand, make no ifs, ands, or buts, It is the wrestlers who do that. It is not the promoter. The promoter gives the platform initially, and the wrestler then captures that audience's attention, and then together the wrestler and the promoter exploit it and capitalize on that ability to garner and keep that audience's attention.
Now, Al, I got to ask you a question there, and I'm not necessarily challenging what you said, but a lot of people would contradict what you just said or would question what you just said by saying what we hear so many times of WWE or AEW, and even in some cases, Ring of Honor, Impact, OVW, are quote-unquote burying people by giving them that time, giving them that
they're not.
Because it's
That's
the
absurd.
promoter's job. It's the promoter's job to promote. It's not the wrestler's job to get over. This is a lot of fans' perspective.
Whoa.
This is a lot of, not my perspective. This is a lot of fans' perspective.
I understand, because they're fans. They've never been a wrestler. Okay. They've never had that experience. Okay. And a lot of wrestlers will also use that as an excuse or justification for why they did not succeed or failed at the very job that they were supposed to be performing. And unfortunately for them, it's because they're not being explained or taught that from the get-go. Because in order for you to be successful in selling something, you've got to know what it is exactly that you're selling that your audience wants to buy. And make no mistake that once a wrestler walks through the curtain, there is literally nothing that anyone backstage can do to help them or to hinder them. And keep in mind too, with this absurd idea that, putting a wrestler on TV, and then of course, if they don't do the very thing that they're supposed to do, which is sell their product themselves and capture that audience's attention, capitalizing on taking advantage of that opportunity. Think how ridiculous this sounds, okay? When you really break it down, all right? Let's say Vince, all right, he has 2 hours of television every week. And because I'm not a math magician, all right, let's just say, because the last time when I was there, and Kevin Dunn told me this himself, that 30 seconds, okay, of television time, if you wanted to buy a commercial to garner a larger audience for Pro Wrestling Report, right? And you're going to buy a 30-second commercial on Raw or SmackDown, right? At that time when I was there, it was $50,000 for 30 seconds. Okay. So how am I burying you if I give you 6 minutes of television time to basically, it's a commercial for you to sell yourself. And if you successfully sell yourself, you could make God knows what off of it. Okay. Even if I beat you, but somehow you use that commercial to sell your product, how am I burying you when I've just invested $300,000 in just television time alone in you? That makes no sense. Now, let's do some math that I can't do anyways, because I don't have enough fingers to do it.
Well, you're not a mathematician, as you said earlier. Too.
Not a mathematician. So think about this. Fox paid $1 billion for a 5-year lease. $1 billion for a 5-year lease for SmackDown. How much, when you break it down over the length of that lease, how much does those 30-second spots cost now? And keep in mind, Fox doesn't want to make $1 billion. They want to make $1 billion plus. So how much more now today does a 30-second commercial cost on SmackDown? And if that's the case, how much does your 6-minute match cost in airtime to garner that most valuable thing, the audience's attention? And therefore, if you go out there with that mindset of, hey, I'm coming out here to succeed in garnering and keeping an audience's attention and capitalizing on and using this match as a commercial to sell me, well, then you're going to be successful. There's no way you could be buried, no matter what I do or where I put you out on the card or how many times I beat you, because you're on television selling yourself every single time. There's, and you're creating a brand that even once that you've left that platform, you can continue to sell that all over the entire world thanks to the reach of WWE and its platform. There's no way I can bury you.
So this is
You.
this is a fascinating perspective, Al, and I appreciate you.
It's not a perspective; it's a fact.
It's a fascinating fact as you see it, Al, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Not
fact.
as I see it. It's genuinely how business works.
But no, and a lot of people are going to hear that and still have challenges.
Disagree? Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
Well,
Because they know much more because they read it on the internet. So of course they should know more than I do. I've only done this for a living for 38 years. You know, God,
well,
I've only made my own mistakes and not capitalized on those very things and blamed other people and said they were burying me, even though I buried myself because I tried to be a great wrestler instead of being a great product and attraction.
It was my goal not to get you fired up because
I love you, Damien.
You failed.
I love you, Damien.
We only have 60 minutes, and I love it when you get fired up because you do school everyone so well. And Miss Betty's calling again. But I do want to say this. One thing that has been a challenge, and Dave, I'm going to put you one-on-one with Al Snow here because you have talked about just that very thing of when a person does go out, when a star does go out, and they do fail, if you will, in that time that they're given. And one key point is another endorsed talent that you hate because you don't like his size. And that is that of one Ricochet, who you said was taken off TV and put in the shadows of WWE a while ago because of a bad promo that he did once. So
I don't think that would have been the case. But
that's what Dave says, Al. That's what he said. Yeah, he said that. Yep. He did. He said that. Just because he hates Ricochet for whatever reason. No, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not pointing fingers. But Dave, with what Al just said, does that change your perspective, or do you still believe in the same philosophy?
No. If we're talking about Ricochet right now, he's being used to put guys over. Not getting buried, but he's not being elevated either.
See, you can't give Ricochet a shred of credit for the great job he's done with the Mustafa Ali situation.
Yeah, he's done a great job of putting over the Hurt Business. Absolutely. No one's clamoring to see Ricochet in the main event. Nobody wants to see Ricochet in a title match right now. Hell, no one's even saying put him on 205 Live.
Because he's on Raw.
He's stuck in neutral. So he did it.
I'm gonna save you from yourself right now, ladies and gentlemen.
No, please don't.
I'm saving you from
I
yourself.
did that on my own.
Al, what have you seen, if anything, of Rey Mysterio's son Dominic in the last few weeks or in WWE? Have you seen any of his matches or any of his presentations?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I hope that whatever direction they have, because it's going to have a run. Everything does. It has a certain window and a certain time frame, and I hope that what they do for him, for his sake, quite honestly, is that they take once that runs over, take him out of the spotlight and give him an opportunity to really get a lot more experience and get a lot more polish and a better feel and understanding of who he is. One of the hardest things for second generation wrestlers is to not just come out of their parents' shadow, but really to understand that the accomplishments and the successes of their parents aren't theirs. Just because they've spent their entire life in the wrestling business doesn't mean they've spent their entire life being a wrestler. That's a whole different aspect. And they need to be allowed the time to develop and learn and create their own successes and failures on their own to where they can have that experience and become a viable addition to the operation. And by putting someone who's too young, too inexperienced, too soon, and putting them into a spotlight too quick, sometimes can be detrimental. I mean, remember Eric Watts. I mean, Eric had all the talent in the world, and just unfortunately for him, because of the namesake, David Flair, the same thing, was put too far, too fast, too soon, before he had developed who he was, and that could be a disservice to that young talent.
So let me ask you this, Al. Dominic, and I don't know how much you've seen, Dave, you might be able to chime in a little more here. His wrestling exhibitions so far have been impressive and over.
That doesn't sell tickets. That doesn't sell tickets.
You're right, Al. It doesn't. But
and the other part of it, the thing that you're missing, is that intangible that he has to develop over time. And a wrestling, that's the and you're going to give me on this kick, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for this, but you know, the problem today is not that we lack athletic ability, because we certainly don't. You know, I've said this numerous times over the last few years. It's like there's more athletic ability in professional wrestling there's ever been in the history of the sport, of the business, of the art. That is not what sells or motivates an audience to want to watch these performers. It's not the what they do. It's the who they are and the why they did it. And that sense, that feeling has been lost because all of the talent try to impress an audience by doing, you know, selling what they do. And you're never going to motivate an audience to make you a star doing that.
But let me ask you this, Al, and I apologize for cutting you off. We only got about 7 minutes left of showtime here, but I will say specific to Dominic, it's not just that, but you've taught us a lot over the years we've been having you on this program and been interacting with you and being friends.
Yeah,
checks a lot of boxes, doesn't he? He's young.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's
a
much like Cody. Cody was in the same position, but I've intentionally, when he was here in OVW, I put Cody with Sean Spears in a tag situation. And the reason I did it was because that way I knew that Sean's such an incredibly talented, I don't think he gets the credit for just how really amazing, really in the true sense of the word worker, Sean is. And, but by putting him with Cody allowed Cody to develop himself and have more confidence because he knew that Sean was there to fill the gaps and, plug the holes and, and be able to, because that's the key as a wrestler is that you want to be able to hide your weaknesses and accentuate your strengths. And that comes with experience. And, that Cody, it's taken years for him to be what he is now. And it's going to take years, to some, whatever that length is. I don't know. There's no one set time limit, but it's going to take that same process for Dominic. It doesn't change.
And Damian, and let's not forget, 7 out of Dominic's 10 matches have been with Seth Rollins. So he has a safety net.
I'm not overstating. I'm just simply saying that, and to the point you made, Al, maybe we've been conditioned in such a way that these second, third generation stars, when they first come in, they're going to be pushed to the moon, pushed on our throats, and not have the capability to back it up. What I think has been surprising with Dominic is from the first match, from the get-go, this scrawny, very tall kid, by the way, and we've seen his mom, we've seen his son. Seth may be honest on him. I'm not sure that we expected him to be as great as he has been, or we're just so devoid of new talents in that company that we were pleasantly surprised, and now we can latch on. I don't know. It could be any one of those things.
And again, you're not wrong, Damien.
I never am.
He's mistaken.
Well, except for that one time you were mistaken. But
at camp?
No, in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, New Orleans.
Back to you, Al.
Slowly I turn like Niagara Falls. I'm not disagreeing with you in your assessment of Dominic, but that still does not change the fact that they would be better off in the bigger, longer picture to, once this run has done its course, to then take him out of the spotlight, put him someplace that he can work on a regular basis, still, perform on TV, and but not on a national platform, to where, and he can make some mistakes and he can grow and develop and find out what works for him, why it does, and then come back, and then they can now have a young, talented performer who has even a much greater understanding of what it is he's doing and why, that they can capitalize on and have a run for years to come.
That is fair. I will not dispute that. I will not challenge that. Thank you for the insight. I do want to, though, spend the rest of the time we have in this broadcast to give time to OVW. As you know, OVW, as you said, Al, broadcasting in tens of millions of households all over the world. And it is a tremendous show each week. You have been busting your ass to get product out there and to get back in action. Got some unique shows you've been doing as of late, both live and on television. So tell us more about OVW, how, where we can watch, and what to expect from this week's offering of the broadcast. Go ahead, Dave.
And the combine. There's a huge OVW combine coming up as well.
That's true. I'll start off with the combine and explain that last year we did the first ever OVW combine, which was really just like the NFL. There's, we have physical and tests and performance tests, and we have a criteria that where we gauge and evaluate physical, athletic conditioning and ability. And then we even use this thing called the DARI system, which helps to track biomechanical kinetic energy and be able to
science.
Yeah, actual science. It's set up with GPS and tracks the body's movements. They can even show your strengths, your physical strengths, weaknesses, and kinetic shear on your joints, and even predict up to 2 weeks prior that you could possibly have an injury. But it's all to help improve your performance and take it to the next level. We also do a psych evaluation and an IQ test, and we took 15 athletes, and they, that competed within. There was like 55 that competed, and they're awarded a scholarship to our trade school, which is the only state-accredited trade school for professional wrestling, sports entertainment, and broadcasting, which we are now starting next week doing an online version, and you can pay per class if you go to aswa.live, and we have guest professors like Tim Jensen, who is the CEO of Grunt Style, and he is handling the social media class that he's going to be running, and it's going to delve into teaching advanced social media marketing techniques, showing you how to brand yourself, create impactful ads, optimize your marketing, drive traffic to you and your products. He's the strategic officer for Grunt Style Clothing, and they've literally built up their. Last month they had 90,000 hits on their Facebook page alone. They have 9 million social media followers. So I think he knows what he's talking about, and you can attend those classes online. You can pay per class to attend those. We're also going to have Pat Ivey.
Just to step in real quick, Al. That's amazing to me. And in fact, some of the things you just said, I wasn't even aware of. And that is more than a quote unquote wrestling school, if you will. Not to knock any of them, because there's several great ones across.
Well, we have that aspect. You can come and attend and just be a part of the wrestling school. You can just do the wrestling training, or you can be a part of the trade school, which is where you're now attending both the wrestling training and then the scholastic courses, like that class, or Dr. Pat Ivey, who's from the University of Louisville, and he's the athletic director for human performance. He's going to be running a class on athleticism, on human performance and function, and athletic function and optimal performance. We operate classes on sound, lighting, camera operation, production, live event management, business management, event management, in addition to the wrestling. So over a 2-year period, you graduate and you're certified as a professional wrestler, sports entertainer, and broadcaster, which is awesome, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your career in the ring is going to come to an end. And if you get an opportunity, let's say with WWE, and you have a wonderful run there are so many more opportunities to have careers within professional wrestling if you have got the skills to be an asset behind the scenes, and gives you an edge both as an in-ring performer, because now that you've operated a camera and sound and et cetera, you know better yet how to perform when you're out there on TV to capitalize on that opportunity and that commercial for you, because you know what a camera operator is looking for. And it gives you even more of an opportunity, because now when your career comes to an end due to an injury or attrition, and you can now explore, opportunities backstage, and, as no matter what it is, even if it's in production, and, you now have a better sense and a feel of what it is that backstage they're trying to sell, because you've been inside the ring and know what goes on there, and you have that feel. So if anybody has an interest, they can go to aswa.live. Classes start next week. And again, you can pay per class online if you want to. You can go to our affiliate schools and attend online, and then we require you to come here for the last quarter to do your actual physical wrestling experience and training, and then your residency.
And just to be clear, Al, this is an accredited school. It's not like Trump University.
It's an actual state accredited by the State Office of Proprietary Education. They oversee the universities and trade schools for the state of Kentucky. It's taken us a year and a half to get that accreditation, and so we we operate a very professional environment, very safe, very open, and embracing to everyone. And the goal is to raise the standards and give young men and women more skills so that when they do have that opportunity, they can capitalize it to its fullest extent. But then on the backside, have additional skills that allow them to continue to have a life and a career outside of the ring.
But there's one thing I want to ask you, Al, though, with all that, once they do get in the ring, there is one thing that needs to be paid special attention to, and that is, the amount of manscaping that needs to take place before putting on a tight. So,
listen, I can tell you from personal experience, the night in Montreal and probably several other times around the United States where Big Jim and the Twins made an appearance that was not planned on, and they weren't booked on the show. That, as Mick described it, it looked like a buzzard's nest with 2 robin's eggs with a worm burrowing out of it. Yeah, you need to keep things trim.
God. I gotta ring the bell.
And I gotta say, in my defense, that night in Montreal, it was winter. It was an ice arena. It was really cold. Okay.
Manscaped.com, the promo code PWR, 20% off and free shipping right now, right, David Hero?
Absolutely. Manscaped.com. You got the nail grooming set.
And they don't call it the lawnmower for no reason.
You got the nose trimmer. If you want to be silky smooth,
just like
use promo code PWR at manscaped.com.
Silky smooth.
So fresh and so clean. Yeah. And also, Al, I know that Dave is, and I assume you are too. We got you a little bit out of frame there, but tremendous wrestling merchandise available from our great partners at Collar and Elbow.
collarandelbowbrand.com. Use the code word snowman for an additional 10% off, even if we have a sale. And and you can see all the designs there, and we try to create a brand that is for wrestling fans, but anybody can wear it and wear it anywhere because it looks more like street fashion than just the typical wrestling merchandise. So, and last but not certainly least, OVW TV and OVW Overdrive. You can now see us on the YTA network, which is in 44 million homes. You can see us on Sports 11 USA. It's in 55 million homes. The RNC network, the Lilly network, the Cox Sports Louisiana network, which goes into 17 Western states. In November, we'll be on Untamed Sports.
Can you clarify? The RNC is not the RNC, right?
No, it's the name
Cox
of
is not that thing Dave was blocking earlier.
No, it's not that. It's COX.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
They used to be my provider. I used to get Cox down. And
anyways, we're not gonna touch that.
I live in New Orleans.
Back to New Orleans again. Oh
Please
my God.
Me. Go ahead,
Al. And then through our media partners with Film Volt, we are now on our own Roku channel. We are in 27 countries with Roku. We're in 220 countries with Amazon Prime and Amazon Fire. Here in the next couple months, we'll be on Apple TV and Samsung TV. Hisense and JVC. When you purchase their smart TVs on their Roku smart TV, we are featured on the startup menu, and on their Amazon Fire, we are featured on the startup menu. You just click on the OVW button; it'll take you right to the show.
OVW is everywhere.
We are with Sports International. It's a European sports channel. They broadcast in 690 million homes around the world.
Wow!
You know what's amazing, Damien? You can ask Al what he did yesterday, and he will have forgotten.
Yeah,
but he just rallied through all of that. It's just amazing.
Impressive for sure. The success of OVW. It's amazing to watch it continue to grow. Congratulations, Al. In fact, in about 6 minutes, I believe. You've got a class to get to. So
I do.
we're going to go ahead and close out this broadcast. And thank you so much for stepping in. For Shane, who sends his well wishes, he actually sent us a few texts during the show saying, "Don't."
Well,
me.
I love my son, so I owe him. I broke his credit cards one time when I hugged him. Ask him
Next
about
time
that.
on the show, we need that story. Al, thank you so much for joining us and schooling us as you always do so well. David, thanks for showing up. For all of us here on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime, we've been live here on October 8th, Thursday night, 7 p.m. on Fight TV and across our social media channels. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live from all over the world, and we look forward to seeing you again next week, next Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Al, Dave, thank you. The rest of the world, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.